What's your current position? What do you do right now?
Okay, right now I am semi-retired. I do a lot of gardening. I do some odd jobs, and I help take care of my 3 grandchildren.
What do you do here at St. Ben's?
Here at St. Ben's, I help with the 2nd graders. There's another teacher and I that teach the 2nd graders, and we get them ready for some of their sacraments. And I help with things in the church. I help with communion and where I'm able to partake. And I also belong to the Wabash Valley Master Gardeners.
Excellent.
So we do a lot of gardening and take care of several beds in the city of Terre Haute.
So tell me a little bit about gardening and about helping with the Sunday school. What does that do for you? How does that make you feel to be able to help in those capacities?
Well, it makes me feel good because it makes me feel like I'm still a part of what I did several years ago, because I tried to continue the image that I think that I would like to be, to help people and to learn. Every day that goes by, I've always thought that you needed to learn something. whether it be something simple or something dramatic, and it makes me feel good that I'm able to teach, especially the little ones, something. So it's.
So when it comes to teaching the little ones, what lessons do you think you've been taught through your first experience? And that's where we get into yes, what we're here to talk about. You were Terre Haute's first firefighter. In fact, let me have you say that. What were you?
I was the first female EMT/firefighter here in the city of Terre Haute.
Overall, I know this is a big question, but overall, what did that teach you?
Well, it taught me that as being a young female at that time, in the middle 70s, that there's no, and as in teaching the little ones, that they say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, and you have to set your goals high and to hope that you can succeed and not let anybody tell you that you can't do what you think you can do. Just like being a physician or a rocket scientist or anything, you can't have people stand there and say, no, you can't do that, or no, there's no place for you. That, you have to strive if that's what you're interested in, and if you feel like you're knowledgeable and strive to go meet that goal, then you need to go for it.
That's beautiful. What on earth would possess you during that time as a female to say, I want to be a firefighter?
Well, I had worked on my EMT, which took me a while because most generally then, there wasn't a class offered here in Terre Haute, and so I had to go back and forth from here to Greencastle. And so they said, well, what are you going to do with this after you get done? I said, well, I would like to work for an ambulance service, because emergency care was just a thing that I really wanted to do. And I was good at it. And so I just thought that's what I thought I wanted to do. So it took me a few months to go from here to Greencastle, and then I was certified. And then as one of my certificates, the Terre Haute ambulance at the time signed off on it, and so then that opened the doors there for other women to start doing that.
Were you the first EMT certified?
As far as I can remember, I'm thinking that was the first EMT that actually worked for an ambulance service. So see, that helped them to guide them on how they were going to restructure their hours and how they were going to put people together and stuff. So, which I think helps today, because that started the program for the young ladies that are doing that today to do what they're doing now.
Before we get to you actually becoming a firefighter, let's go back to your childhood. Did you always see yourself?
Yes and no, because when I was younger, which I'm in my 60s now, back then they kind of geared you for nursing, teaching, being a housewife or whatever, and that just didn't sound I mean, it was good, but then I thought I just wanted to do something different, to make a statement, to say, yes, you know, someone can do something over the line, you know, to be able to succeed at what they think they need to do.
1 second.
Yeah.
Fix your mic real quick. It's kind of scrubbing against your shirt.
Oh.
There, so
Go ahead.
kind of adjust real quick.
And I'll ask you that question again so we can, you know, I love what you said.
That was a beautiful answer. So you can get right
Love what you
there.
said there.
There you go.
Okay.
You can.
What?
No, I'm trying to get that. Hold it a little more. Yeah, that's
Okay,
Perfect.
I'll probably pull on this and it's probably making it.
That's fine.
You're fine, don't worry about it. Okay, so back when you were a child and you know all the boys were playing with their fire trucks and things like that, you know, what was it about that time that said, you know what, I think I might want to be a firefighter, or was there anything during that time that made you think that?
Yes and no, because it always intrigued me how the firemen were able to, you know, facilitate all the hoses and everything. And I thought, well, and I wonder, you know, how strong you had to be and how, you know, you're capable of getting those all off and putting them up and handling them with all the water pressure. And I thought, well, you know, a woman, if she's able and strong enough to do it, she can do it just as well as a man. So it was just, you know, it was always in the back of my mind. And then after I had completed my EMT course, I thought, well, now, you know, when I worked the ambulance, I thought, well, no, I'd like to take that one step farther and to be able to work with the city and perform my duties on the fire department.
What was the reaction from people, people that you knew and maybe people that you didn't know, when you said, I want to be a firefighter?
Well, they kind of looked at me with amazement. You know, like some of them say, well, sure, you know, if you think you're able to do it and capable of doing, you know, go for it. And others said, well, don't you think you need to be doing something else? And, you know, there's no one there, so where are you going to sleep? Where are you going to stay? Where are you going to, you know, eat? And you know, so I said, well, that, you know, that they could figure out once they get me on, which was no problem. Once they hired me and put me in, I mean, everything, for the biggest part, the men in the houses were very good and very, very cohabitable in they're wanting to learn how, you know, to work with, you know, as a team, which I think was good. You know, for that time, they did the best they could.
So going through the certification process of becoming a firefighter, you had to do everything that the men did.
Yes.
All of the physical testing things, what did that entail?
Well, you had to be able to take you know, everybody had an assigned job as they got to the fire. So you had to be able to help them take the hoses off the trucks and put them, you know, to the fire hydrants, and to be able to get them into the buildings, and to be able to help put the fires out. And you had different sections, different stations that they would put people at to make sure that you covered the fire to where it needed to be.
What did they say when you were going through that test, or did they say anything to you?
Well, none any more than anybody else. I mean, they were, you know, some were hesitant, some said, well, no, should we not let her do this, or should we let her do this, or just like with anybody else. So, but it worked out well, because we had to do it all together. So they just, you know,
So, how did you think you did in your mind?
In my mind, there was a couple times I thought, well, am I really doing what I need to do? But nobody complained. So I just kept putting forth my best effort and did the best I could.
Well, and it was good enough, you know.
Yeah.
That moment when you get the paper, you get the confirmation, what does that feel like when you find out that you're actually going to be a firefighter?
I'm thinking, yes. So it was good, because I wanted to be an example, even though I was on for a short period of time. I wanted to be an example that, especially the younger ones, that, you know, yes, you can do some things if you set your mind to it, and can prove that you're able to do it.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about your stint in that position. Did you go on any runs? Did you have to respond to fires and run inside houses and all that stuff? What
Yes.
did you have to do?
Well, as I said before, you worked in teams, so you usually, you usually have two men on a hose. And so you would, you know, be behind someone, or they'd put you where they thought, where they needed you the best. So various activities. I don't think the only thing I didn't do was, I mean, I was trained to do the ladder, but I didn't do the ladder when we were out. That didn't come up too often. I think the only time it was when we were out on Wabash. So, and I wasn't up on that. There were other people up there. We were inside.
Is there any moment specifically or any specific run that comes to your mind that sticks with you?
No, because they're all unique and they're all different in their own little ways. The one that we did on Wabash, it was where the coffee house or the coffee place used to be. And it was pretty well engulfed when we got there, and there was like 3 buildings there. So we weren't sure if they'd all collapse or all do, but it was good. I mean, we did what we had to do, and it came all together.
So now we fast forward, and how long were you on the?
I was on for about a year. I had started a family, and so that was, you know, at that time they just didn't know how to quite deal with that. So they suggested I reroute myself and find something else to do.
How did you feel about that?
Well, the biggest part of me felt like I was discriminated against because, you know, once I had the child, I could have come back and continued my job and done it just as well as I had before.
While you were, and that kind of leads to this question, while you were on with the other men who were on the department, did they treat you any differently, or did you feel like you were, outside of the obvious reasons, did you feel any different from them when you were on your runs?
For the biggest part, I felt like I was a part of the team. I felt like, you know, they trusted me enough to, I mean, yes, there was times that they kind of shouted over me, or kind of, as a new person, they would take you off to the side, now here, do this instead of this, you know. But I always felt like I was a part of the team. So that was good.
And so once you it was suggested to you that you find another track, what did you wind up doing after that?
Well, I went back to school, became a medical assistant, and I worked at Union Hospital for a while. And then I've had several little things after that, but that still wasn't what I had wanted to do. You know, I still wanted to be a part of that whole system, but I chose to do another.
I mean, do you feel kind of, does it still kind of sting a little bit that you weren't able to? A little, yes. I wish I had pursued it and just stuck with it and just said, okay, you know, I need my job, you know, and stuff. But the other part of me feels like, yes, I proved that it can be done, and with, you know, the right attitude, it was done. But it was just unfortunate that in some people's eyes, it just wasn't the thing at that time. But it just, you know, things like that happen. But, you know, when you have someone say, no, you aren't going to do it, I'm sitting there, yes, I am. And so it took place, and I had proved that, yes, it can be done. Yes, it was done, and yes, I did my job. And, you know, I felt like that part of me felt like it was good. I just, you know, was glad that I did it, and didn't let anybody talk me out of that. You broke the seal. You can definitely, nobody can ever take that away from you, that's for sure. So looking back on all of that, what do you think your legacy is for the city of Terre Haute and the fire department?
Well, I feel like that there's opportunities overwhelming or overbounding out there, that if they would give people chances and opportunities to succeed in those areas, you know, because sometimes men and women can be equal and they can do the same job, equally, but, you know, and not to listen to your surroundings, because sometimes they'll say, oh, are you sure? But I think that we have to all be given an opportunity to try, and you won't know until you try. And that's what I hope to pass on to my children, my grandchildren, and these children through the years. That yes, you can succeed, and you can do things appropriately and do, you know, what you want to do.